Welcome to another episode of Issues and Insights. I'm Bryce Shoemate from Hardin County Government, and today I've got our Deputy Judge Daniel London from Hardin County Government with us. Daniel, welcome to our show today. Thank you for coming on. And you know, even though we are coming out of a major epidemic all across the United States, you've been busy with budget and several things going on throughout the county.
It's been new challenges that we've all had to adapt to. The new normal, obviously, keep hearing that, and it's very true. So obviously, we just had to craft a new budget for the county, which Judge Executive Harry Berry masterminds each year and does a phenomenal job. But oddly enough, even though we had the pandemic, it was probably one of the easier budgets he's been able to put together for a number of factors. But it has gone well.
And with this budget, did you see some major challenges as retirement amount that the county has to put in, and challenges as far as health insurance?
Sure.
Did you see challenges on those kind of
things?
things?
Our biggest challenge continues to be the increase in retirement funding, and just to reiterate to the public, we've talked about this a lot, but when I came on board with county government 3 years ago, the match rate for county government was 18%. So you think about that. In most private sector jobs today, you have 401ks. Those are matched 4 or 5%, between 3 and 5% usually. But because of the state has a pension system that is in such bad shape, the match at that time was 18%. Well, obviously we've gone through a pension crisis, if you will. That match has now increased to 22% and is going to 28%. So that's more tax dollars from our residents that have to go. That has to go into that pension fund. And for hazardous duty over on the EMS side, which you're familiar with, that rate has gone is going from about 30% up to the high 40s. So a significant burden on county government budgets.
And do you see those rates going higher as the years go on?
They'll have to. No one wants to hear that, but it'll be something the state legislature will be dealing with for probably decades to come. But they will. Something has to give at some point. We can't continue to have these escalating rates, but in the near term, we're going to continue to have it.
I mean, counties won't be able to afford it.
You can't. You absolutely can't, because it's another $250,000 each year. So contrast that with our ability to raise revenue, which is capped at 4% increase in property taxes each year, which gets about $250,000, which then just goes right into the pension costs. I hate taxes. I hate raising taxes, and certainly no one wants to do that. But you can absorb usually your typical cost, what we call typical cost of living increases. So your electric goes up, the water goes up. Those cases, county government can absorb that. But when you add the pension liability on top of that, it becomes unsustainable, and you have to raise taxes.
Do you see?
And that's where fiscal court has been, unfortunately.
So that's a good segue into something that we need to talk about. You have come up with several great ideas to ease some of our budget restraints, demands, by doing several things. I know a lot of the public doesn't know this, and so
Sure.
I'm not trying to. I don't want to say this. Trying to kiss your tail in by saying this, and that doesn't sound very good on public TV, but. You've been the mastermind of this, and so I want to give credit where credit's due in talking about these things that have come on, because you are very much, Judge Berry hired very much a business-minded individual to be our Deputy Judge Executive. So talk to the folks. They've read about it a little bit, but they haven't heard from you what kind of things you've done.
Well, when you have challenges such as what we've talked about, and Hardin County budget has been strained for some time. You hear the term "think outside the box." Well, sometimes you just have to throw the box away, and that's really what I've tried to do the last 3 years is just let's just think about how we can do things in newer and better ways. So not to sound Trump-esque, but sometimes you just have to tear it down and rebuild it, so to speak. And we've done a little of that. So I'll use the landfill as a deal, as an example. We redid that deal. It was a good deal at the time it was negotiated, but 20 years later it was a horrible deal.
Right.
It didn't change with the times. And so when I first came on board as deputy judge executive, the first thing I saw was the landfill is losing money, $750,000 a year in the hole. And that was just surprising and appalling to me. So we got in, redid the deal, and now with some of the legacy debt payments that we have, which will be paid off in the next couple of 3 years, we went from a $750,000 deficit to a $750,000 surplus now with the landfill. And so we've been able to take that $750,000 and put it to road funding, for example. So this past fiscal year, we were able to resurface almost 50 miles of roads, where previously if we did 10, 20 miles, we'd had a banner year. So we have $750,000 more out of that, again, going to our roads are in terrible condition, trying to get those up to date. That once the debt is paid off, that legacy debt is paid off in the next couple of 3 years, that revenue is going to double. So we'll get another $750,000 that we can put towards some of our needs. Getting back to, I talked about fiscal court has been, the last couple of years, been in a position to have raise taxes cover the pension. In the next few years, residents won't be hearing that.
Right.
We don't have to raise taxes to cover that because we've been able to mind the store, if you will, to the point of doing some of these deals and restructuring stuff to where we can have income coming in to cover those problems.
In doing that deal, you also worked it so that we don't have to be responsible for upgrades or expanding the...
Right. So a term that I use, or a phrase I use, is we were able to shed all the liabilities of that. So before, under the old agreement, we were responsible for all the bad stuff that happened at the landfill. So environmental issues, and we all, EPA is a nasty three-letter agency to all of us, and those are very costly problems to have, and every landfill has them. So we've shed all that to a private contractor who knows how to run landfills. County governments have no business being in the day-to-day business of running an enterprise such as that, because you just can't attract the talent that you need and the expertise, especially in a changing dynamic. So yes, we've been able to shed all those liabilities, so we are responsible for zero of what goes wrong out there, which is a good position to be in. So all the revenue we receive is net revenue now from the landfill.
So a big boon for
it is, and that also is part of that agreement. The county was on the hook for $11 million worth of capital improvements out at the landfill. That $11 million price tag got shed again to the private operator now. And so that's money that taxpayers don't have to come up with. That was getting pretty dire. There was about $3 million worth of deferred maintenance that we were going to be required to figure out where that money was going to come from when we redid the deal, and private contractor obviously took on that cost as part of the deal. So
it's a win-win.
It is. So total savings and revenue over that 10-year deal is going to be in about $20 million to the taxpayer. So that was a huge win. As part of that, we were able to follow that up with a solid waste agreement with Fort Knox to take over their commercial collection and run their landfill. That's a separate initiative, but obviously goes hand in hand. And we pegged our estimate on the revenue for that. It wasn't set because there's some variables in that, but we pegged that at being between $200,000 and $225,000 a year. Well, this last fiscal year we topped out at $225,000. So our estimates were right, which is rare in government. So we nailed the estimates. And then we came at the top end of that estimate. Now this fiscal year we're probably going to be on the lower end of that because COVID obviously had some impacts with them being shut down. We were able to make more money, so we're going to be about $200,000. But again, you calculate that basically that's 1 year's worth of property tax increases that we don't have to do.
And that's $200,000 more than what we had before.
Right, exactly. That's exactly right. Exactly right.
And so I know.
And again, that money's going to resurface roads.
And we've got some friends that have affectionately called you Hardin County Inc. because of doing some of these. But I mean, again, it's ways to bring in revenue that it doesn't cost our taxpayers, so to speak, increased tax rates.
It is, and and if that's, I'm fine with that joke because again, I think taxpayers, and I know as a taxpayer, I expect my government to overperform and find inefficiencies and ways to make money that doesn't cost me personally through taxes, and that's exactly what we're doing. Another instance of that. Again, one of the first things I did when I took over as Deputy Judge Executive, took a look at the animal shelter. They were bringing in $40,000 worth of income a year. That has now, in a little less than 3 years, today, I just looked at their dashboard before I came in, we're at $203,000 for this fiscal year.
To bring in.
That we have brought in income. So obviously you can do the math, that's another $170,000 more over the last 3 years. And we're probably going to top out at about $210 by the end of this fiscal year.
But now we had good partners that partnered with us.
We have, absolutely, and get into that. So what we were able to do is create a business model to where we become a regional hub for servicing other counties from a vet and health standpoint. We hired a county veterinarian. Focus, Friends of Hardin County Animal Shelter, fronted some of that money and have some partnership programs where they funnel money into us to fund that veterinarian. So that was almost at no cost to the taxpayers. And then we have all the upside of the income and being able to bring in other counties that don't have veterinarian access to service them. And so that program is going to continue to grow. The budget for the shelter is about $800,000. Our goal eventually is for it to become self-sufficient. That's a high and mighty goal, but we beat other high and mighty goals, and so that is one that we intend to make happen as well.
And we were on the way over here. Our director at the Animal Control, Mike McNutt, was with us talking to us, and
who is phenomenal.
Yes,
we were so blessed to have him.
And so we were like, we are blessed to have him and his staff.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a great team. It's a dedicated team.
He's got a great staff there, and so if you all haven't been out or been online to look, if you're looking for a pet for your family, what a great place to look at our Hardin County Animal Shelter for a kitten or a new dog or a cat. Look to them. I was laughing the other day because Mike was talking about horses. And I said, well, you all have horses? He said, ever so often. He said, since I've been here, we've had 20 horses. And he said, we've let those out for adoptions as well.
Pigs as well. So you never know what you're going to get. You may get a ferret every once in a while. So, yes, please go and adopt. We have right now, again, I was looking at the dashboard before I came in, it's 173 is our census at the shelter. It was about half that just a couple months ago. It's typical season, summer season.
Spring, yeah.
So pets are getting away. Unfortunately, people decided they can't take care of them and dropping them again, unfortunately. So we're busting at the seams. So we need some help in that regard.
Absolutely. Going on with talking about Hardin County Inc. and way to think outside the box, throw the box away. I haven't heard you use that before, but that's cool. Talking about that, you've got another contract that you have been working on this spring and have brought in.
Yeah, so it just started as a mowing contract with Fort Knox. So we've taken over their cantonment mowing, we refer to it. So when you go to Fort Knox proper, one of their offices, that's under our mowing now. So we were able to secure that agreement with Fort Knox, and then we subcontract that out to a local business, a Hodgenville-based business who does a lot of business here. So a great story in that. That money was going to North Carolina. So it is now back in the region with a contractor. That contractor bought $500,000 worth of equipment from a Hardin County business. So that money is helping our local economy. And then Fort Knox was able to save $99,000
wow.
Off that contract. The total savings actually was $198,000. So we split it. Knox now saves $99,000, and Hardin County government gets $99,000 a year in cash. That's a 10-year agreement everything goes as planned, which we anticipated. So that's $1 million over 10 years that, again, taxpayers don't have to come up with, that we can put toward roads, pension costs, and so on. So a big benefit, win-win for everyone.
Absolutely.
And we're trying to do more of those and find more of those.
And that mowing contract actually goes and helps the county as well, because they've taken over a lot of our mowing as well.
Right. So a second and third leg to that, if you will, they are also doing our facility mowing, where before we had inmates helping us out doing that, who did a phenomenal job. We miss having them.
Thank you, Big Josh.
Absolutely. We miss having them on one hand, but that frees up them to go out and help nonprofits out in the community. Also helps them to be able to pick up even more trash along the roadway. So in essence, the deal at Knox helped pay for that and free up other work hours for other things. And then they're going to be mowing our right-of-way, county road right-of-way. Now, we did decrease our right-of-way mowing from 3 mowings to 2 when we contracted it out. The reason for that is that gave us obviously some savings. There's some risk to take on there, but the other issue we've been facing is we had eight vacant slots at the road department. Everyone's talked about the hiring challenge. Well, it's very real, even for government jobs. We had 8 positions we couldn't fill, so we went ahead and eliminated those, and then the savings from decreasing the mowing from 3 to 2, we took that, as well as the savings from those having to fund those positions, and put those back into the wages of the 17 remaining employees at the road department, because some of them were looking to go ahead and retire, look for other more high-paying jobs. We weren't in a position to where we could, 17 is the absolute minimum we can maintain at the road department, still get paving done, pothole patching, and so on.
So we would have lost a lot of experience.
We would have lost a lot of them, and so we had to do something, and that was the solution there to make that happen. Would I rather still be mowing 3 times a year? Absolutely, but the risk was worth taking considering what we were facing.
And some of those things that not only helped the road department, but it's helped EMS by increasing some of the wages, where Jefferson County is pulling a lot of our people and helping our insurance for county employees as well.
Yeah, we've been able to go from being self-funded on health insurance 2 years ago to join the state plan, which was an additional cost of about $500,000. Which sounds like a lot of money, but when you compare the plans and what it does, and being able to retain employees and cut that training cost and so on, it was well worth that cost, because it's much better for employees at more than half the deductible that they have to pay, as well as significantly decrease their monthly cost. And so that has been a great boon. Again, able to do that because of some of the deals we've been able to put together. So it's been a big boost.
Exactly. And so, county-wise, how are we looking as far as the shape that we're in, that you're getting us in, as far as all these contracts and new adventures, I should say?
So the outlook looks very good.
Or I should say ventures, not adventures.
Well, there are some that are adventures as well. But the future picture looks very good. Again, we're going to have some debt. It's going to get retired in the next 2 to 5 years with the detention center, with the landfill. That'll help us significantly. Again, we'll double our income from the landfill. Again, that's another roughly $750,000 to the good there. I've got a great team. They're Stephanie Givens, for example, doing a great job running recycling. She was able to do a deal there to where Red River is taking on all the liability of our recycling program, but we're getting all the financial benefit from it. So that's a great deal in getting that income. So we're tweaking a lot of different things to make sure that we're good, and I think we could see great benefit. And the biggest benefit we're going to see is getting our roads back into shape. Again, I mentioned earlier we were able to pave about 50 miles worth of roads this last fiscal year. We think we're going to be able to do that again this fiscal year. So being able in 2 years to resurface about 100 miles out of our 600-mile road system is a huge accomplishment. And we need to continue that the next few years to get them in order.
And I want to touch back on the recycling. You've been able to get recycling trailers in a lot more places than we ever had before throughout the county.
Yeah, and again, that was another deal we were able to put together as part of our solid waste franchise agreement. The county had been trying to run that, which again, there are just some things county government just doesn't do well, and it just doesn't need to be running it. So we went from 1 drop-off location to 7 now. So we have really increased that recycling throughput.
Is that going to expand even more?
Possibly. Right now we're really just watching those 7 locations to see. We really like to add a location in Rineyville at some point. So yes, we could very well see that expand, but we're watching the throughput to see where we might need to reposition. And see where that goes in the future. But that's something the public has been wanting for more than a decade, and we were able to get it accomplished.
Now, I know Radcliffe still does their own, but
they do.
We've offered if they want to come
if
on.
they ever want to change that, then we can obviously take that on. It'd be no cost to them, and I don't know what their arrangement is now, but that is absolutely an opportunity.
So JJ. There's an opportunity.
And he's aware.
Yeah, he's
aware,
been good to work with.
Yeah, absolutely, it's phenomenal.
We like to tease back and forth, but
and I think that's the great thing of what we have now. All the mayors and county government, we're in sync and working well together.
And that's important
it
because
is. Yeah,
we
absolutely.
don't always have that, and you since you've come on board, you've been able to develop those relationships.
Yeah, absolutely, and we've got some key friendships there. Mayor Greger and I are good friends, and JJ and I've gotten a lot closer, and certainly appreciate that relationship. Mayor Ash up in West Point, we do a lot of things together, and Mayor Ogden, Mayor Copeland. So we've been able to really pull together a great team and toe the line together. Rather than trying to go in different directions.
And help each other out.
Yeah,
that's
absolutely.
That's what it's all about.
It's team effort. Absolutely.
And I know, and since you've come on too, we've been able to get, just to talk about saving the taxpayers' money, even to switch around 911 and the fees that we were getting off a landline service to switch those up so that it was fair, so to speak. Everybody was paying instead of just a few paying for everybody. Now everybody's paying their fair share.
It's more equal distribution, obviously, and the big risk there, obviously, was our 911 system was really ready to fail.
You had to go out on eBay to find parts to fix what was going down.
We were almost keeping it together with duct tape, and that's not much of an exaggeration, unfortunately. So being able to restructure that fee, although again, none of us like to talk about taxes and fees, it was more equitable in the way it was done, putting it on the property tax bill rather than the phone line, and has put us in a position now where we have a state-of-art system, which you don't think much about until you're the one calling on behalf of a family member, but you want someone to be able to pick up, and you want that call to go through, and we have that system in place now.
But that state-of-the-art system has also helped out the city of Elizabethtown now. By saving them some money because they're just upgraded, and by using part of our system, it saved them money to keep them from having to do it independently.
Right. Yeah, that's correct. So they are able to tap into our system and use that, and with some redundancy and so on. And we'll hopefully be able to do more of that with the other cities.
It's my understanding the city of Radcliffe is actually looking at that right now to do the very same thing.
Yeah. So again, we like governments as close to us as possible. That's why we have cities and counties for various reasons. I'm not a merger advocate, so you want to throw that out there. But people do expect us to work together and be as efficient as possible and working together. And those are the kind of things that we're doing.
And since those fees are collected countywide, we want to be able to help those agencies that are out in our county.
That's correct. And that gives them some budget relief as well.
Sure. Daniel, we talked about things going on in the county, and when we began, we talked about coming out of the pandemic, opening up all of our facilities, getting us back on track. I know the governor said everything's going to open back up to somewhat normalcy. That's kind of a new word.
It is.
June the 11th, and you have been able to open up several things throughout the county already, but talk about a little bit opening up after COVID, after this pandemic?
Yeah, I first of all, I'd strongly encourage everyone to get their vaccination. I've been vaccinated, and I'll admit I waited a couple months just to kind of see what the reaction would
see what
be
kind of
from most
reaction
people.
I had after
Yeah,
I had mine. That's
right.
what it was. Yeah.
Yeah, I was determined if you came in with a tail, I wouldn't get my shot. But that didn't happen, so I got my shot.
He likes to tease me because I'm so much older. You know.
Right. Yeah, if anybody was going to have a bad reaction, it'd be you. So I felt pretty safe. And so I would encourage you to get your vaccination. It just makes sense. I understand the worry. I was there at one point, but it enables us to combat this, and again enables us to be fully open. So county government is fully open. We've taken the signs down. No mask required. It's up to you at this point, because I certainly feel like if you want the vaccination, there's certainly ample supply and time to get that. So if someone chooses not to, that's what this country is based on, is freedom.
Now we need to say that's
make
the
those
offices
decisions.
that we control.
Offices we control, that is correct. So there may still be some limited restrictions here and there, offices that we don't oversee, but we have opened all of our facilities completely.
Good. What do you see as challenges from this or from that as we go along?
Yeah, I think everyone, again, is worried about is this going to be like flu season, and that remains to be seen. Obviously, from our perspective, we still have to be careful with our EMS service and
right.
Our first responders out there, 911 and so on. We took, and I know people didn't understand this, but we took some pretty restrictive action early on to limit contact, because we can't risk our EMS being down,
right.
Particularly during a pandemic, or our 911, which obviously controls the throughput of the runs to EMS. So, it was a balancing act, and we'll continue to have to do some of that balancing just to be safe and make sure that we can appropriately respond to public emergencies.
Absolutely, absolutely. Daniel, our time, we get to talking
it
about
always
these
goes
things
fast,
because
yeah.
we're not only enthusiastic about what's going on, but Hardin County has such a great future. As we're looking down the road, we've got great future. We've got ample land for industries to locate, and we've got great people.
New one announced this week, so we're in a great spot here in Hardin County. We're very blessed.
Absolutely. Thanks for joining us today on our show, and we just hope that you keep on with Hardin County Inc. and what's going on with it, and the ventures you seek. We look forward to seeing those so that we can take the burden off of our taxpayers and help that out. So
that's a key.
Yeah, absolutely. And thank you all for joining us here on Issues and Insights, where we try to keep you informed on what's going on in Hardin County government, what's going on in our community, as we've got such a big community out there. And we ask that you also pay attention, because now with our folks getting out of school and graduating, we've got more young people that are out. We've got young people playing in the yard. So be careful as you're driving through the neighborhoods, and keep an eye out for those young people on bicycles and enjoying the good old summertime. Thank you for joining us. Thank you for staying tuned, and we'll keep you informed on what not only is going on in Hardin County government and Hardin County as in total, but what's going on in your school system in Hardin County schools, because this show is sponsored by them. Thank you for joining us on Hardin County Education and Community TV, where we keep you up to date. I'm Bryce Shoemate from Hardin County Government, along with Daniel London, our County Judge Executive. Thank you for joining us, and stay tuned.